call is now being
This
recorded.
is Global Link. You have a prepaid call from
Jesse Nava.
an inmate at the Centinela State Prison, Centinela, California. This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded. You have a prepaid call. You will not be charged for this call. To accept this call, say or dial 5 now. Thank you for using Global Link.
Thank you for calling me back, Jesse. And on the last part that we left off on was your second arrest.
So my second arrest, like I said,
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I end up pulling out my probation report from my sentencing for the current murder that I'm busted for, and it said my next arrest was in 11/10/93, but it doesn't say what the actual charge is. It just says 246.3. And it's crazy to think back that, like, I can't even remember exactly what the charge was for. You know, it says 246.3. That's the penal code. And so I was gonna ultimately go check it out at work tomorrow and see what that the penal code was, because I actually work in the library. I can even actually check it out on my tablet. You know what I mean? But yeah, I was barely right now before I called you. I remembered I was gonna pull it out, and I looked at it and I was like, man, I said it just has the penal code. It doesn't have what the actual arrest was for, though. You know?
So I'm looking it up right now, and it's makes it illegal to shoot off a firearm or BB gun in a gross negligent fashion.
Oh, okay, so that's like the same thing. So that must have been at the Greyhound, by the Greyhound, because I ended up having a little shootout with some dudes from North India at the Greyhound. But I don't remember. I don't remember that being my charge. That's just crazy. That's what I'm thinking. Like, because that almost sounds like the first charge, like my first charge. That's like the same thing I got for the first one. You know.
Yeah.
What about let's see, another one is 11/14/94. It's 777. Can you look that up and see what that is?
777. Okay.
I think that one's under the Welfare and Institution Code. That might actually be a violation, because it said a warrant was issued and minor was placed in custody.
Yeah, this one I'm not. I'm not.
Yeah, I think it was a violation, because I see there's like several of them for 777A WIC. So I'm thinking those are probably probation violations. You know what I mean?
And then from there, what's the biggest event that you recall? You know, from that time, from that time frame.
Probably as far as like out of the cargos that I ended up picking up, like the biggest event that I could say probably was when my high speed chase. You know, I ended up getting busted for felony evading and reckless evading and all that stuff. And like at least in my teen years, you know, as far as like what I got busted for, to me it seems like that probably was like.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
I went on like a 15-minute high-speed chase, you know, through 3 different towns and stuff like that, and I ended up wrecking the car right through to my co-defendant on the murder that I busted on. I ended up wrecking the car through the house right next door to his house, you know, and that's probably the craziest thing, you know. Like, I remember the whole time I was going through the chase, I'm sitting here thinking like, man, what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, 'cause I was expecting, you know, the Houdas to end up doing something crazy. You know what I mean? Like, I was expecting when I got caught for them to stick the dogs on me or shoot me or something, you know, because I had been driving all crazy, like playing chicken with the Houdas and everything, you know. And so yeah, I think for me, like, as far as like one of the things that it's crazy, because I remember even when I was in juvenile hall, my heifer came to see me, and she's like, man, she goes, because I drove past the house. I was trying to get far enough away from the placa so that I could jump out and take off running, but like every time I'd get on an open straightaway, they would catch right up to the back of me real quick. You know what I mean? So they but I remember my mom, when she came to see me in juvenile hall, she was like, man, I got up and I seen the cops chasing the car all up and down the streets right here by the house. And she's like, oh, that can't be Mijo Jesse, you know. And she's like, I said a prayer real quick. I went back inside and I crashed out. I was thinking nothing of it until all of a sudden they called me from, from juvenile hall in the morning, And so when she came to see me, she was like, oh, he's not that stupid, and then sure enough, I was that stupid.
And so with that case, what was the outcome of it?
With that case, I ended up getting sent to YA. I ended up getting sent to the California Youth Authority.
And as far as YA, how did the sentencing work when you get sentenced or committed to the California Youth Authority?
When you go to the California Youth Authority, they send you, like, when you actually get to the Youth Authority, they can send you to all your time, like whatever you're, like with the high speed chase, whatever a high speed chase carries. Like, say it's 6 years, 8 years, 9 years, whatever all the time carries, they'll send you up there with all that time. But when you get to the California Youth Authority, they classify you as a category, like you're category 1, category 2, category 3, 4. I think I might have been a category 4. Honestly, I can't really remember, right? But like category 1s are like serious, like murder, kidnapping, attempted murder. Like there's a few cases in category 1. Category 2 is like, I think category 2 might have been like kidnapping. And so when you get to YA, they give you the amount of time that the category you fit in. So you can have 10 years hanging over your head. Like me, I had years hanging over my head, but because a high-speed chase wasn't considered serious, I was all the way like to a category 4, I think. And so that you only on category 4, I think they give you like, I think it's 18 months or 2 years, and then you can get time added on after that. You know what I mean? Like if you get written up, they used to be called level Bs. Like if you get a write-up in YA, you get time added. You know what I mean? 6 months, or 3 months, whatever the write-up constituted, you would get that time. And so like some fools would go to YA with a year for probation violation, like program failures, and end up spending years in YA because of all the time they had hanging over their head because of their previous cargos or whatever the cargos they had. Like they might not have been a serious crime, but it carried a bunch of time. So or it might not have been like a crazy violent crime or something, but it would have a bunch, like if they got a bunch of burglaries or a bunch of like robberies or whatever, and they'll have a bunch of time, so they'll go up there and basically turn 1 year into 6 years, 7 years, 8, you know what I mean? Like fools could stay there forever, not forever, but at least till they turn 21 or 25,
When you got sentenced to YA, were you expecting to go to YA, or in the county where you're in, did they have a camp system?
Yeah, well, I had actually already been to camp. When I got busted, I was actually already on the run from camp. I went to Twin Pines Ranch in Riverside County. It's up there in the mountains in Twin Pines, and I had already been to like 3 or 4. Let's see, I started off in Helicon. I went to Camry Group Home. I went to Alternative Group Home twice. I went to Wright's Adolescent Development Center. I graduated from there, and then I ended up getting busted for that high-speed chase. So then I went to Twin Pines. I was in Twin Pines for like 3 weeks, and then Twin Pines was like a last stop camp. You know what I mean? Before they send you to YA, if you program failure in Twin Pines, then you're going to YA usually. So when I ran from Twin Pines, I already knew that I was going to end up going to. They used to have this thing. It used to be called a Willie T waiver. Like basically, it's a YA commitment. Like they tell you, like we're going to send you to placement one more time, but if you violate in any way, shape, or form, you're going to the Youth Authority. So when I went on the run, that's why I went all crazy in the high speed chase, because in my mind I'm like, I'm going to YA no matter what, And so, yeah, I pretty much knew I was going up there when I got busted.
And before you got to YA, did you already know what to expect? Did you know the battle in there, how the program was in there before you got there?
Yeah, well, I knew it was up with YA because just about everybody from my barrio, from the ex gang that I used to be from, everybody, like it barely started in the 80s. It wasn't an old gang, it started like in 85, and every generation, like there was only one generation before mine, and then my generation, and then what.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And everybody had been to YA, just about everybody from my barrio, and there's probably only like 40 of us, at that time, and so everybody had been to YA. So pretty much the first generation, everybody went, like a good 10, 15 dudes went, and then my generation, at least a good 10, 15 fools had already went. So I pretty much knew what to expect. You know what I mean? Like by the time, everybody was sitting in security in juvenile hall, they had already left already, or they had already been up there for a while, and fools were like, hey, it's just a matter of time for the homie shows up, So when I got there, I kind of, I already knew what it was. I didn't necessarily know exactly what it was going to be, but pretty much, a lot of the homies were like giving us the rundown. Some fools were going up to Wyatt for 90-day observations first and coming back like, oh, this is what it was.